How Arsenal ran a train straight through Tottenham's midfield. For cheap good quality football jerseys, retro jerseys and tracksuits, go over to www.jerseyfifa.com, a link will be left in the description, and use code ATLANTISFOOTBALL for 5% off. So from the start of the game we saw that Nuno was continuing to use a 4-3-3 shape out of possession, with the front three incredibly narrow as they had been against Chelsea. Arteta's 4-2-3-1 system moved to a 3-2-4-1 shape in possession, with Tierney pushing forward down the left flank, being in an advanced position, holding the width and playing more as a left winger, while Tomiyasu on the right side held his position a lot deeper, playing as an inverted fullback at times, in a similar role to what we see Kyle Walker do at Manchester City, with Cancelo or Zinchenko, whoever's playing left back for Pep's side, being the player to push forward and hold the width a lot more. Tierney was definitely the player to do this in the Arsenal side, and it was interesting because I have said before that Tomiyasu isn't a naturally offensive fullback, a player like a Trent Alexander-Arnold or a Tierney, who's going to be getting into wide positions and putting in crosses, so playing him in this role did make a lot of sense to me, particularly because I think he's a much better passer than he is a crosser, so this role did suit him. What it also allowed Arsenal to do was have Tomiyasu pull out to the right side and open up a passing lane for Ben White, which enabled Arsenal to shift the ball around Tottenham's narrow front three. Odegaard and Emil Smith-Rowe were almost playing as an advanced double pivot, with both players looking to drop into the half space in behind the Tottenham midfield, and this was hugely significant throughout the game, and I'll come on to why in just a minute. Now, whilst I think Nuno was very passive in the middle third, having Tottenham sit off and basically allow Arsenal's deeper lying players to shift the ball from side to side, this wasn't necessarily a problem throughout this game, as you can go with this tactic, as we saw Arsenal do a similar thing, dropping off into a 4-4-2 and allowing players like Ndombele, Højbjerg and the Tottenham centre-backs to have the ball but maintaining their shape and keeping their system vertically compact, which stopped space developing between the lines. But Tottenham's main problem out of possession came when they tried to press Arsenal higher up the field. They pressed in a narrow 4-3-3, but their positioning was all wrong. Here we see Ben White has the ball and Kane is about to pressurise him, but he should be positioning himself so that he can cut off the passing lane into Xhaka behind him. Because he doesn't do this and he approaches White from the wrong angle, the passing lane's opened up, and not only this, but Tottenham's central midfield are left in no man's land. They can't get to Xhaka quick enough to stop the pass, and if they do go, they leave massive spaces in behind, and when the ball goes into Xhaka, he does pretty well to see the opportunity of a first time pass, plays it round the corner, and now Smith-Rowe is not only in behind the Tottenham midfield, but they've taken about 6 Tottenham players out of the game, and he's running at the Tottenham back line. And credit to Arteta's side, they recognised that this was potentially an area where they could attack Tottenham, and they have players making darting runs, not just in behind from Aubameyang with a run centrally, but also down the flanks, and this is what really aided Arsenal's attack throughout the game. And if you look at all 3 of the Arsenal goals, it all stems from this quick transition in attack, taking advantage of the lack of vertical compactness in the Tottenham shape to exploit the space between the midfield and defence. The second Arsenal goal was the best example of this, but the first goal had elements of this as well. So what happens for the first goal is Xhaka gets a slight touch on the ball and not only takes Højbjerg out of the game, but takes the whole Tottenham midfield and front line out of the game, and now Odegaard can run forward with the ball straight at the Tottenham back line, with Aubameyang making a run through the centre and Saka available on the right side as well. Saka receives the ball against Reguilon in a one-on-one, and he does well to shift the ball quickly and play the cut back into the perfect area. But if we look in the centre, we can see Tanganga and Davinson Sanchez get completely confused. Either one of them has to go with Smith-Rowe and the other has to go with Aubameyang, but instead they both sort of stand between the 2 players. Neither knows who's picking up who, and when the ball is cut back, Sanchez's reactions are too late and Smith-Rowe's able to get there and put the ball into the back of the net. For the second goal, Tottenham are pressing high in Arsenal's defensive third during the build-up phase, and Kane's doing a pretty good job of cutting the passing lane into the player on his inside, and the only real option for Ramsdale is a ball into Xhaka, and Højbjerg from this position should invite the ball into Xhaka and then instantly move right onto his back and apply the pressure, and then Tottenham would be in a perfect position to win the ball high up the pitch with Lucas Moura and Kane in close proximity, and they can crowd around Xhaka and win the ball back. But what Højbjerg does is he takes a risk, tries to win the ball in front of Xhaka. He gets rolled by Xhaka, and Xhaka once again sees the opportunity of a forward pass, plays into Emil Smith-Rowe, and once he plays the first time layoff to Tierney, Arsenal are in the perfect position to counter quickly. The pass from Tierney into Aubameyang is perfect, and it's Smith-Rowe's running off the ball which creates this opportunity. He runs off Tanganga, Aubameyang releases him, and once the youngster gets into the box, his cutback is perfect, and Aubameyang's finish nestles in the bottom corner to give Arsenal a 2-0 lead. The first 2 Arsenal goals showed exactly why, if you're going to press high, the whole unit needs to press. Tottenham were pressing high with their front line and midfield line, but there was a massive space between the midfield and defensive line. And this was obviously because Nuno feared that if they played a high line, they would get exploited by Arsenal's pace in behind, and therefore the Tottenham system was completely disjointed, and this was why Arsenal were able to exploit the space in behind their midfield, and Emil Smith-Rowe had a fantastic game doing this exactly. See, if Tottenham had gone with a more Mourinho-like defensive passive style and sat back completely and not even attempted to press high in the build-up phase, Emil Smith-Rowe would not have the space to make these runs into, and therefore in order to break down Tottenham and create chances, he would have to do it with the ball at his feet against a deep compact defensive unit with players like Højbjerg and Ndombele and Dele Alli, who also played in that central midfield in the first half, pressuring him instantly as soon as he picked up the ball, and therefore it would be harder for him to create. But with Tottenham pressing as they did, he had the space to exploit, and he was the man of the match in this game. The third Arsenal goal once again came from a quick transition and attack, this time from a counter, with Kane having the ball in Arsenal's defensive third. He loses the ball, Xhaka picks it up, ball goes into Odegaard, who plays it out to Emil Smith-Rowe, and from this position Smith-Rowe picks the perfect pass. If he plays the ball over to Partey and Aubameyang on the left side, the play's a little bit more congested, but Saka has a space completely on the right side. The ball goes out to him, he isolates Dyer in a one-on-one, and to be fair, he does get a bit lucky with the ricochet, but he takes a finish extremely well, putting it in the bottom corner with his right foot, and making it 3-0 to Arsenal. But this goal once again showcased how vulnerable Tottenham are when there's a turnover. See, Tottenham were pushing their fullbacks forward quite aggressively in the attack, but they didn't have the defensive stability in the midfield, with Ndombele and Ali pushing forward, leaving only Højbjerg in that defensive midfield position, and Arsenal essentially were like a train motoring through that centre midfield whenever they won the ball. With Saka, Emil Smith-Rowe and Odegaard, they had players who could carry the ball forward at pace, and Aubameyang was making the runs in behind, which pulls the Tottenham backline backwards and stops a player being able to come out of the backline to confront the player with the ball, and this is what allowed Arsenal to transition the attack from pretty much their own half into the attacking third on so many occasions. Before that, I'm going to talk about another concerning issue, which was Tottenham in possession. Nuno's preferred offensive style, whether it's with Tottenham or Wolves before, is based around a quick transition and attack, which relies on quick vertical passes when there's a turnover, and the pace of players like Son and Lucas Moura making runs in behind and carrying the ball forward into the attacking third at pace. A perfect example of this was the game against Manchester City about a month ago, and I did do a full tactical analysis on that video, so I'll leave that linked in the description below for you to check out after this video. But whilst Manchester City were the perfect side to counter-attack against because of their high pressing and advanced positioning when in possession, Arsenal were the complete opposite and did a very good job of shutting down any potential counter-attack from Tottenham. Whilst for Tottenham, Højbjerg was the only real sitting player when Tottenham pushed forward their fullbacks, Arsenal had Xhaka and Partey and even Tomiyasu on the right side, holding deeper positions when Arsenal had the ball, and what this did was close off the space that Tottenham would have usually had, like they had against Manchester City, the space for Lucas Moura and Son and players like that to carry the ball into. Because players like Partey, Xhaka and Tomiyasu retained deeper positions, this space was closed off, and this meant that Son, Lucas and Ndombele didn't have the space to carry the ball into, and so often what happened was Arsenal fell back into their deep 4-4-2 shape, and they were content to allow Tottenham's deeper players to have time on the ball even when they moved into the Arsenal half. Not only did this set up Tottenham perfectly to be countered on when they lost the ball, but it also stopped the likes of Son and Kane getting on the ball in central areas, because Arsenal's midfield, Xhaka and Partey, sat incredibly deep, keeping the space between the lines at a minimum and keeping the whole Arsenal defensive system very vertically compact. And Tottenham didn't really have a plan to deal with this. Players like Son, Lucas, Harry Kane and Dele Alli remained in central positions even though the space wasn't there. What Tottenham should have been doing is shifting the ball quickly from side to side, and with Arsenal's wide midfielders Smith-Rowe on the left and Saka on the right retaining narrower positions, if Tottenham could have switched the ball quickly from one side to the other flank, then they could have created 2v1 situations, and particularly with Reguilon on the left side and Emerson coming on to the right side in the second half, you would have thought that Tottenham would have had a lot more success trying to create attacks from out wide than going through the centre of the pitch. Now the game was pretty much lost for Tottenham when it went to 3-0, but Arsenal managed the game well, continuing to retain a deeper position and not getting sloppy with their positioning. I thought defensively Arsenal seemed a lot more organised, with Partey now in the centre of midfield, and Saka, Emil Smith-Rowe and Aubameyang all had excellent games, and it seems like this Arsenal side is set up to counter-attack rather than break down deep defensive units, and it's similar to Tottenham as well, and I can see both sides having similar problems in certain games but also thriving in other games. I do think we will see Tottenham and Arsenal pick up points against sides who are going to dominate possession, but I do see them struggling against sides who let them have the ball and tell them to break them down, as Arsenal did to Tottenham in this game, because both sides have managers who seem far more content with a counter-attacking, quick transitioning style of play, sitting deep and compact, rather than a high pressing, possession oriented approach. So this is definitely something that could mean that Arteta changes his style of play, and I think this is probably the most successful way forward for Arsenal, particularly with the players in their squad, as certainly their front line and defenders are a lot more suited to this style, rather than a Pep Guardiola possession oriented approach like we did see Arteta use at the start of his Arsenal reign. So thank you for watching. If you enjoyed the video, remember to subscribe to the channel and give the video a like, put your thoughts in the comment section below. Also head to the description as well, as I've linked some videos that you may find interesting, and follow me on Instagram and Twitter for more content as well.